Hey everybody, welcome to Nightcap with Neoliberal Tears. It's me, Neoliberal Tears, and today I wanted to talk about Zionists in sheep's clothing. So I did a stream a few days ago about Bernie Sanders and his version of liberal Zionism, but I think if you're in the pro-Palestine space, if you care about Palestine, you may have noticed that there's also some concerted effort by racist figures on the right to try to co-opt anti-Zionism or pro-Palestine sentiment and funnel it right back into reactionary, right-wing, regressive ideologies, anti-immigrant, white supremacist, all of the above. So I'll borrow a lot of my analysis from an article that Dr. Steven Saleda wrote. If you're not familiar, he's a professor of literature and expert in Indigenous American studies. He's Palestinian American. I believe he teaches at the university in Egypt, but he was fired actually from the University of Illinois for his outspokenness on Palestine. And he had a lot of thoughts that I thought he's always so brilliant. So I really recommend this article. It's titled Palestine Solidarity in the Age of Reaction. Should people involved with the Palestine Solidarity movement in North America, traditionally leftist in orientation, seek alliances with the political right? And you can see here that he also included an image from the apartheid wall that shows graffiti of including the gay rights flag, for example. So he sort of touches on all of these things, all of these important issues. The first thing I thought we should do, because there is such a concerted effort to co-opt anti-Zionism and redefine it by both parties, to first look to an expert like Dr. Saleda to define Zionism, so we're all on the same page. So here he gives us a rudimentary definition. Zionism is a belief in Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state in any incarnation on any part of historical Palestine. Very simple, right? That's why we know that the two-state solution is a Zionist framework from the beginning, has always been. Sorry, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Okay, I have returned. So, so that's I think the best definition that we can go off of, and then we can hold those right-wing figures that I'm gonna show in a little bit, and sort of hold them to this standard of anti-Zionism and see if they hold up or not. They don't. Just spoiler alert. But I really recommend this piece. I mean, I can't recommend it enough because, Dr. Saleda really goes into detail about why intersectionality is so important for so many reasons, but also why the effort by the right wing to co-opt pro-Palestine sentiment is completely insincere and actually based in some reactionary elements from that have always been in the United States, from people like Pat Buchanan, who is a political figure from before my time. Never knew about him. I'm learning about it from Dr. Saleda, and it's sort of an effort to scapegoat. I'm not sure if scapegoat is the right word, but to basically blame all of the problems with settler colonialism that originate in the United States and North America, Canada as well, and sort of limiting the issue to one colony or a proxy state in West Asia instead of seeing the bigger picture. So I really recommend this analysis. But now that we have a definition, oh, and also I should mention that Dr. Saleda also is someone who had a unique experience in getting smeared by Tucker Carlson, who I have a nickname for. I unaffectionately refer to as fűcker Carlson. So he used to be the editor-in-chief of this shitty blog, The Daily Caller, and he actually smeared Dr. Saleda after he was fired for being pro-Palestine. So he has a personal experience with someone like Tucker, and he has witnessed the shift in Tucker Carlson's rhetoric. So he's very much borrowing from that experience as well. And look how they framed his firing in the Daily Caller. University of Illinois professor blames Jews for anti-Semitism. Oh my God, disgusting framing. The University of Illinois has continued its bizarre quest to employ as many disgusting scumbags. Oh my, it sounds exactly like fűcker Carlson. Disgusting scumbags as possible by acquiring the services of Dr. Stephen Saleda, a leading light in the movement among similarly obscure academics to boycott Israel. Oh no. Saleda, who has announced that he is moving to the Big Ten Bastion in the fall, is a world-class Israel hater on Twitter. Let's see what tweet fűcker Carlson is referring to. I'm not sure. It doesn't say. The balding, bespectacled professor recently on... I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson has a wig on, by the way. Like, there's too much, like, he has like a weird relationship to his hair that I think is rooted in performance. I don't know. Bespectacled professor recently unleashed this amazing gem blaming Zionist, a term that fell out of favor sometime during the Eisenhower, for Jew bashing. Oh my God. Its latest Twitter feed has been a parade of foul-mouthed Israel bashing tweets. That is some bullshit. And they're quoting a Zionist professor. Let's see, because I actually think Dr. Saleda is a brilliant, he doesn't really tweet as much, but he's a brilliant writer. And I think that lends itself to his amazing tweets. So let's see if there's a gem in here. I mean, there are more than a few. This is a sad reflection of, oh, okay, no, I'm not going to quote a Zionist. Nope. You see, they're not even saying what he said. They just say that he blamed Zionism. I don't want to read any of this out loud. I really don't. I don't. You know what? We're not gonna read off of this shitty right-wing reactionary website. We don't need to. We are beyond that. But I guess I just wanted to show that he has some experience with someone as disgusting as Tucker Carlson. Now that Tucker has supposedly shifted to being pro-Palestine. So here's, let's play Tucker's interview that he did a couple months ago, where he was asked directly if he's a Zionist. And we remember Dr. Saleda's definition of Zionism, supporting a Jewish majority state anywhere in historical Palestine, right? To be anti-Zionist means supporting one equal state from the river to the sea, as I keep reiterating. So let's see if Tucker Carlson considers himself a Zionist, or how he will answer that question, and whether he subscribes to Dr. Saleda's definition.
You are critical of the government of Israel. Do you believe in Israel's right to exist? Would you consider yourself a Zionist in that narrow definition?
What does that mean, a right to exist?
The existence of the political state of Israel as
but
it has
a
existed.
right. What does that mean?
That you think it should continue in its existence as a state right now. So you do not agree with Iran, for example.
Well, let me just ask, since you asked me the question, it's fair for me to get you to define the term so I can answer it. You've asked two questions. The first was, do you believe Israel has a right to exist? And the second question was, do you believe Israel should continue to go on as a nation state? And those are very different questions. So I often hear the
Having
phrase,
been created as a political entity in 1948,
does it have a
that
right
state
to exist? Is that what you're asking?
I don't want to get hung up on the right.
No.
So I think he's obviously trying to not answer the question, but he's also sort of creating a distinction between does the apartheid state have a right to exist, and should it exist? And I would argue the answer to both of these questions is an unequivocal no. Right? No, apartheid has no right to exist, and it should not exist. So let's wait for him to answer.
Should it continue to exist? That's how I define narrowly Zionism.
Because the phrase you used was devised by the Israeli government. Of course, does it have a right to exist?
Actually, the right to exist framing actually comes from manifest destiny, which goes all the way back to the early colonization of the Americas. But anyway.
And so my question to you would be, what does that mean?
Why don't you answer my question? It's a very simple question.
I don't know what your question is. Are you asking, does it have a right to exist, or do I want it to exist? Do I seek its destruction?
Fine, answer it that way.
Well, of course I don't seek its destruction.
Okay,
I've already said, as you...
Look how he phrased it. Do I seek its destruction? She asked him if an apartheid state denying rights based on religion should exist. Let's say that's like the second part of the framing, whatever. Should it exist? And he says, I don't support its destruction. Destruction. Why framing the end of apartheid as destruction? That's what white South African Boers used to say, that if they gave Black South Africans the right to vote, South Africa would be destroyed. Why would he frame equal rights for everyone as destroying anything? Unless he doesn't really want to destroy the apartheid system as much as he claims. Let's go back.
Seek its destruction?
Fine, answer it that way.
Well, of course I don't seek its destruction.
Okay,
I've already said, as you know, because I said it to you, I don't want Israel to be destroyed or have to use nuclear weapons.
We've established that you are in that.
He doesn't want the Zionist state to be destroyed. And he framed it, and he is the one that used the word destroyed. She didn't. Whoever this is, don't know her name, don't care to. No offense, lady. I'm sure you're a very polite person, don't mean any harm by it. But he doesn't want Israel to be destroyed. Like I'll just play it one more time so it can really like sink in for people who might think that he has some anti-Zionist proclivities, or he might be movable on this issue. I think it's really important to see what his worldview actually is.
No, because I said it to you. I don't want Israel to be destroyed or have to use nuclear weapons.
We've established that you are in that.
Or have to use nuclear. Why would it ever have to? Is he saying that the apartheid state will use nuclear weapons if it's forced to give everybody equal rights and the right of return of all Palestinian refugees? He doesn't want it to be destroyed.
Narrow terms of Zionist. If that's how
I'm in no sense a Zionist. I don't want any.
If you support a Jewish majority state on any part of historical Palestine, as we have established, you are a Zionist. Maybe you'll say Bibi bad. Maybe you'll say genocide is bad. Maybe you'll say Gaza's going through a genocide. But as long as you support apartheid based in denying people rights based on religion, or giving people of a Jewish faith more rights than anybody else, you are a Zionist. You're a fucking Zionist, Tucker Carlson. You're a fucking Zionist. It felt good to scream at him, actually.
Country to be destroyed, and at all.
Notice what he said. I don't want any country to be destroyed at all. Just remember that.
Oh, and I don't want people to die, particularly ones who committed no crime, because I don't believe in.
Who said that? Who said equal rights would mean people would die? You know who said that? White South Africans, who said if we gave black people the right to vote, they would throw us into the sea, they would kill us, they would take revenge on us. So now he's using like, he's doing what Zionists always do, which is framing equality as violent, as scary, as killing people.
Killing innocents, period. That's the basis of Western civilization. Eastern civilization.
Okay, I'll just agree to disagree that the basis of Western civilization is treating people well. I don't think Iraqis would agree. I don't think Libyans would agree. I don't think people in Vietnam would agree. I mean, pick a country. Pick any fucking country. My God.
Whole different view. They believe in collective punishment. I don't.
So you're in no sense a Zionist.
I don't even know what that means. Why don't you ask?
Anyone who tells you anyone who traffics in pro-Palestine content, there's a lot. I'm thinking of like one idiot right now who considers himself a liberal Zionist. He's from the Zionist state. His name is Omer Bartov. He's a professor of Holocaust studies at Brown University, I think. And someone asked him, "Are you a Zionist?" And he said, "I don't even know what that means." No, bitch, you know exactly what the fuck it means. You're a professor of Holocaust studies? Come the fuck on. It's just that now, thanks to people like you who are watching this later, maybe, grassroots, people from the ground up have made Zionism as rightfully so, an evil, disgusting term that no one wants to be associated with. Thankfully, like we did that, fam. We did that together. But now Zionists are trying to rebrand or pretend that they're not Zionists because they don't like the word. But they support apartheid in principle. They don't want the apartheid state in any sense to be destroyed by having equal rights, God forbid, right? So it's Zionists have always been like sneaky, what's the word I'm looking for? Adept at changing their message with the times while still supporting apartheid in principle. Even when they pander to Palestinian rights, even when they give lip service to Palestinian rights, which Tucker doesn't. To be like Tucker, would talk about, he calls it the horrors in Gaza, that he doesn't like innocent people getting killed. He always makes that distinction of not supporting innocents getting killed, sort of leaving room for not innocents to die, because as if that's fair, without trial, without anything, right? But you'll never hear Tucker or Fucker talk about the right of return for Palestinian refugees and their descendants. You'll never hear him talk about that. You'll never hear him talk about the one-state solution. Never, never. And there's a reason. It's because at the end of the day, he is a Zionist, in my opinion, which no one has to share.
Define the term, and then I'll tell you whether I am.
I've just defined it. And
What's
you
a
said
Zionist?
that a Zionist, in my narrow term, this definition is that the state of Israel, the political state of Israel, has the right to continue existing.
The right? Where does that right come from? What do you mean? These are like, I'm not being a lawyer about it. I just want to know what you're asking me.
You answer the question.
Because I don't know what you're asking me.
Let's go to the
Wait,
third.
no. I think you don't want to define your question, and I don't know why. I don't know what you're asking me. I've already said.
I think he knows what she's asking. I gotta say, I mean, some people I've seen online, people I respect, were like, wow, like he's really like sticking it to her by I think he's mostly avoiding the question, and when he's not avoiding it, when he's answering it, he's saying, I don't want apartheid to be destroyed at all. And he frames it as destruction. I think he's being coy on purpose.
I don't want Israel to be destroyed.
Okay.
I don't want anyone to be killed. And you've said, does Israel have a right to exist? Does it have my question is, what right are you talking about? Does Britain have a right to exist? Does the United States have a right to exist?
There was a world order built up after 1945 which suggested that aggression should not be condoned into countries, that countries with borders have the right to intervene.
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Which is why the first thing that Israel did within 2 weeks of this war starting, which is supposedly existential for them, was take southern Lebanon, take someone else's country, as they have done repeatedly. And no one even mentions that. And so I guess I would be opposed to that, because I think Lebanon has a right to exist. I thought Gaza had a right to exist. But I noticed that as soon as we started portioning rights, only one country gets them.
No, I did not say that. You're absolutely putting words into my mouth.
I believe, here's what I do believe, since you asked. I believe in universally applicable standards. And if they're not universally applicable, they're not standards, they're preferences. That's why I believe in human rights, not ethnic rights. I don't think Jews have more rights or less rights than anyone else. I don't think Christians have more rights or less rights, blacks, Filipinos. I believe in human rights that derive from the creation of people by God.
Which is interesting, because if you do believe in equal rights, regardless of religion, which he says he does, why would you support apartheid's existence at all? Why do you think why do you frame the end of apartheid as destruction? Why? Like, why? Why is it so hard to just say Palestinians are denied their rights, and have been denied their rights since 1948, solely and exclusively because they're not Jewish, and that's wrong, and they should have those rights, and there should be one single democratic state from the river to the sea. Instead, you could see like these rhetorical framings, these games that people like him play, because they're trying to carve a lane out for themselves that appeals to pro-Palestine sentiment, genuine people who, because the people are with Palestine, I think, and every opinion poll in the world shows that at this point, but still co-opting and funneling those same people into believing that the Republican Party or any of the two main parties could allow any form of dissent on Palestine. I mean, I definitely think the Republican Party has a huge grip on their base, to the extent that the base isn't happy with the genocide in Gaza. The way that the Republican Party manages that dissent is they allow people like Mike Huckabee, crazy Christian Zionist, to go on Tucker Carlson and sort of have like a spirited debate back and forth, where it looks like they're arguing with each other, but really all of these people are friends. Ted Cruz came on the fucking Tucker Carlson show. So you'll never hear Tucker, and I'll eat my words if I'm wrong, by the way. I really will. If you ever hear Tucker Carlson or Fücker Carlson bring up the right of return of Palestinian refugees or BDS, let me know. He hasn't done that. Why? Because the right of return of Palestinian refugees would negate a Jewish majority in historical Palestine or Israel, right? So he doesn't want them to return. He doesn't want the right of return, because the right of return would, in his words, destroy Israel. Okay. So let's see more here. Let's see more. So, how I asked you to remember that the part where he said like he doesn't want any country to be destroyed? That's important, because this is a clip that someone found from 5 years ago, not ancient history, where Tucker actually mentioned one country he would like to, in his word, deserve to be destroyed, quote unquote. So let's see which one that is. Lord.
Tucker, aren't we the only country allowed to make preemptive strikes? Who the hell does Iran think it is?
That's it. Actually, I know you're sort of kidding, but I agree with that. I think we are the only country.
No, I'm not kidding at all.
Rather, we are. That's absolutely right. The only country with the moral authority sufficient to do that. The only country that doesn't seek hegemony in the world. I do think, I'm sure I'm the lone voice in saying this, I think Iran deserves to be annihilated. I think they're lunatics. I think they're evil. I do think we ought to assess.
Oh, I thought he didn't want the destruction of any country. What happened to that? What happened? What happened? What happened? You see, I tried to like borrow his like annoying voice. Okay, let's just play it again. Play it again just to be clear.
I do think, I'm sure I'm the lone voice in saying this, I think Iran deserves to be annihilated. I think they're lunatics. I think they're evil. I do think we ought to assess what
Deserves to be annihilated.
What happened to the price of energy were we to do that. I don't think that's a small factor. It could tank.
The only problem with that to him is the price of energy. It's not the moral issue behind, it's not the lives lost. None of that shit matters to Tucker Carlson from 5 years ago. The only thing he cares about is fucking gas prices. Oh no, but if we annihilate a country, a country of 90 million people, by the way. Oh no, what would happen to my gas prices? Also, the part where he said, like, we are the only country that doesn't seek hegemony in the world. Okay. Okay. I don't need to say anything about that. Okay. Here's, so he did that Economist interview where he said he doesn't want any country to be destroyed. That was in March, I believe. Here's Tucker a month ago. I think it was a month ago. Could be wrong. This is Tucker at the White House with Trump after the president of Venezuela, Maduro, was kidnapped. Trump had a meeting with oil executives. And for some reason, this mop of hair was at the White House, celebrating with oil executives the kidnapping of the Venezuelan president. Oh, he's clapping. He's clapping. He's smiling. Oh, Marco Rubio, of course. Okay. Okay. But he doesn't want any country to be destroyed. He's just so happy that Venezuela got destroyed. That he celebrated it with Trump, who he pretends to have like major disagreements with about Iran. Here he is celebrating Venezuela getting cooed by the United States with the fucking president. Okay. Yeah, he really cares about universal human rights for sure. Okay. Okay. Last thing from Fucker, because there's so much material to work with. I apologize. This really is the last thing, I promise, from him. This was in 2008. I think that was in 2008. Let's make sure. Oh, sorry. Between 2006 and 2011, Fox News host Tucker Carlson spent approximately an hour a week calling in to Bubba the Love Spawn Show. Oh my God. A popular shock jock radio program where he spoke with the host about a variety of cultural and political topics in often vulgar terms, in addition to making many misogynistic remarks and sexual comments. Okay, great. Oh, my Lord. So this wasn't, so yeah, this is from 2008. Okay. Just wanted to see, like, in relationship to, like, how deep into the Iraq War the United States was at that point, but very deep in. This is how he spoke about the Iraqi people.
Iraq is a crappy place filled with a bunch of, semi-literate primitive monkeys. But I just have zero sympathy for them or their culture, a culture where people just don't use toilet paper or forks.
And the way they treat women, I agree with you. Their culture is, but you're in their homeland, and you're over there as an American who they hate, and they want nothing more than the Americans off of their soil. So they're not going to play games.
They can just shut the fuck up and obey, is my view.
How could you salvage Iraq at this point?
I don't, it's beyond our control. I mean, if somehow the Iraqis decided to behave like human beings or something.
Disgusting. Fucking disgusting. This is how he talked about people in West Asia. Arab people, Iraqis. This racist piece of shit. And people take him seriously on Palestine is just fucking infuriating. It really is. It's so obvious. It's obvious that he's, grifting off of genuine pro-Palestine sentiment for really shitty reasons. And I mean, shame on anyone on the left in America who doesn't see through the bullshit. I mean, I guess it's up to us to have, like, sort of a discerning mechanism. And anyone who watches this, you don't have to agree with me that fucker Carlson is insincere when it comes to Palestine. But look at his history. Look at his recent history. Clapping for the kidnapping of a Venezuelan president with oil executives. You're being played. You're being fooled by a racist piece of shit. Fucking, you never trust a Zionist. Okay? And as I've established, Zionism is a choice. It's an ideology. It's not a genetic marker. It's not a religion. It's a choice that Tucker Carlson has made, for sure. And fuck him forever. Disgusting. I can't listen to more of this, but you get the gist. He called Iraqi people monkeys. Monkeys. And I think there are people who sort of say that, like, oh, Tucker Carlson is CIA, he's here to sort of, like, co-opt pro-Palestine sentiment and funnel it right into Christian nationalism, or that's why he always frames the good Palestinians as Christian. He doesn't really talk about the Muslim the Muslim Palestinians that much. I don't have any proof that he works for the CIA. But if he did, it would be very fucking effective. The way he's fooled a lot of people who I used to respect on the left into thinking that he's actually sincere. And it's a shame. It's a shame on all of their credibility, because he's gonna show his real face again at any point, as soon as it stops being profitable to make trauma porn out of Palestine and the genocide. But he even admitted in the Economist interview that he is a Zionist. He doesn't want apartheid to be destroyed. True to his white supremacist roots. Great. So that's that fucker. There is another piece of shit who likes to frame himself as he never ever says that he's anti-Zionist, because I think he understands that he is a Zionist, but he likes to present himself as a scholar on AIPAC, someone who's very much criticizes AIPAC a lot, and I think that's why a lot of people are fooled by his rhetoric. And that's John Mearsheimer.
mentioned the
And, oh, sorry about that. Here, I'll reload it. And he was asked directly, I think it was early on in the genocide, December of 2023, what would be the quote-unquote solution to Palestine? What would be his solution, quote-unquote? And instead of saying, well, Palestinians should have their rights restored, there should be equal rights from the river to the sea, regardless of religion, very simple way to answer that question. He sort of shrugged and said, actually, there's no solution. So let's listen to that.
Do you believe that a two-state solution is actually a realistic possibility?
I don't believe a two-state solution is a realistic possibility. Certainly after what happened on October 7th and what has subsequently happened, there's not going to be a two-state solution. What the Israelis are determined to do is create a greater Israel, and that greater Israel includes Gaza, the West Bank, and what we used to call Green Line Israel, Israel as it existed before the 1967 war. And the problem that the Israelis face is that there are approximately 7.3 million Israeli Jews in Greater Israel, and there are approximately 7.3 million Palestinians inside of Greater Israel. And that creates huge problems for Israel because they can't have a meaningful democracy when there are probably slightly more Palestinians than Israeli Jews. And
you see, he frames the problem of there being, as there have always been, more Palestinians in Greater Israel is what he calls it. I would call it Palestine, historical Palestine, future Palestine. He keeps framing it as Greater Israel, and he says it's a problem for Israel. And of course, the demographic reality. Anyway, let's keep playing.
And they're unwilling, the Israeli government is unwilling to go to a two-state solution, regardless of what happened on October 7th. But certainly after October 7th, that's not going to happen. So the end result
but just to confirm then, I know the current Netanyahu government is not in favor of that, but you don't think it's realistic anyway, a two-state solution. So if you're Israel, you wouldn't advise pursuing a two-state solution because you don't think it's feasible because of the nature of the antipathy that people in Gaza and the West Bank feel towards Israelis. Is that your position then?
I have long been a proponent of a two-state solution, but I have long argued that it was no longer a viable alternative because I thought the Israelis were not interested.
The United States can force Israel to do whatever the fuck it wants. Okay.
After Camp David in 2000 in a two-state solution. But now I think after what's happened, it's almost impossible to conceive of Israel creating a Palestinian state that is right next door to Israel.
Would you say that it's also impossible to conceive, having witnessed the events of October 7th, of a Palestinian state sitting peacefully side by side with an Israeli state?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think given what's happened on October 7th, relations between the Palestinians and the Israelis, we're talking about both sides here. That's what you're getting, have been poisoned to the point where a two-state solution is no longer viable.
So what should our goal be, Professor? We're here to try to work out what the world should be doing in that region. If the two-state solution you've supported for so long, you no longer think is realistic or viable, what's the plan?
So he's being asked super clearly, right? Like, what's the solution to all of this? Like, how do you address the root cause, which is Zionism, inequality between the river and the sea? How do you fix that? And it's like he couldn't be more clear, whoever this Johnny Bravo is. He's asking him directly, like, what's the solution? Like, you're someone who studied this, who wrote books about this, who made money off of this. What's the solution? What's the plan? Here's what John Mearsheimer says.
What should we be trying to do there?
I have no solution. I think what you're going to end up with is
no solution. Oh, okay.
More of the same, which is a greater Israel that is an apartheid state. I don't see any viable solution because in theory, there is only...
I don't see any viable solution. He's not even entertaining the idea of equal rights from the river to the sea. That hasn't even entered into his thought process, apparently. No one ever brought it up to him. He never read Dr. Edward Said's article for the New York Times. I'm sure he has. He doesn't like it.
One viable solution, which is to give the Palestinians...
So here he said, I'll rewind it a little bit so you can hear it again. He said, in theory, there's only one viable solution.
Viable solution, because greater Israel that is an apartheid state. I don't see any viable solution, because in theory, there is only one viable solution, which is to give the Palestinians a state of their own.
No, there is a viable solution. It's called giving Palestinians equal rights and letting them return to where they were expelled from. That's viable. What's not viable is the hair follicles on your head and that creepy-ass smile that I genuinely get the creeps every time I'm looking at his face.
This crisis or this conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians can only be solved politically. It can't be solved with military force. And the political solution, theoretically, that works, the only political solution that works.
The only political solution that works is what?
Theoretically, is a two-state solution.
You see, he's not even pretending like it's an option to give Palestinians equal rights and letting them return. That's out of the realm of possibility for this piece of shit. He makes money off of speaking engagements on Palestine. He's a Zionist. He said there's no solution. There's no solution except me going on speaking tours to universities, going on fucking breaking points, and saying be bad. And then saying, if you're asking me directly if there's a solution, no, there's no solution. Israel is going to be an apartheid state forever. Palestinians are going to be killed because they're a demographic threat. They're going to be genocided. There's no solution. Oh, shucks. The only viable solution, in theory, the only solution that works in theory is apartheid.
But as you and I discussed a few minutes ago, that train has left the station. So we're going to continue the status quo, which is a greater Israel that is an apartheid state.
Okay. Just so you know that there's a lot of people in this space who are absolute, I was going to use the word anyway, I won't use that word. But the next clip I was going to show, the last clip for today, is to sort of explain why someone like him is so resistant and against the idea of the one-state solution. And it's because John Mearsheimer subscribes to an ideology that's called neo-realism. And neo-realists, we're going to hear about in this clip that I found. It's from a book written by historian Ilan Pape that sort of explains what neo-realists believe. Basically, they believe that conflicts should not be resolved. They think conflicts should go on forever and micromanaged or managed at a low intensity or whatever, but that resolving conflicts is no bueno, because resolving them means there aren't as many opportunities to profit or whatever. But anyway, neo-realists do not believe in solving problems. They believe in maintaining problems and keeping them sort of on a low fire.
Conflicts had to be managed, not resolved. Management, according to the neo-realists, meant maintaining the conflict as a low-intensity confrontation, which meant violence would continue to be part of the reality on the ground, but would be tolerable if not in the eyes of its victims, then at least in the eyes of the mediating superpower.
So that's what people like John Mearsheimer believe. Why solve conflicts when you can just keep them going on forever and ever? So much dishonesty in this space, I swear to God. Maybe I'll leave us with a little bit more of Dr. Saleda's article. Okay, here we are. And I can't recommend it enough. It's on Dr. Saleda's website. And he sort of really goes into the specifics of why it's a mistake to collaborate with or in any way amplify voices like fűcker Carlson or any of those pieces of shit. Yeah, he name checks them here. I don't want to say their names because they're not really worthy of attention. Oops, sorry. Great article, really recommend it to understand the history of the right trying to co-opt valid pro-Palestine sentiment and funnel it right back into its garbage bag of racism. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you have any ideas for clips I should react to that have anything to do with Palestine or the one-state solution, please leave a comment. I would love that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you tomorrow. And as always, from the river to the sea.